Hi Andrew, thanks for coming into today's podcast. We are celebrating Red Loft's 20th anniversary, and I wanted to chat through with you the kind of last 20 years.
Wow, 20 years, Danny. Well done.
Yes.
Congratulations.
And have a think about how the landscape has changed massively over that last 20 years and delivering affordable and just residential products. And then have a look forward and get our crystal balls out and think about how things are going to change in the next 20 years and what we see is the key things that are going to happen in our industry.
Yeah, great. Exciting times, I think.
I thought it'd be really useful for listeners if we kind of had a recap on where you've come from, the background in terms of your career, and the different things you've done.
Yeah, so I'm Andrew Waugh, Waugh Thistleton Architects, and we're an architecture practice in Shoreditch, and we've been going around 24 years actually. And we started, as you said, Danny, we started in Shoreditch designing bars and nightclubs and cafes and restaurants, then kitchen extensions, roof extensions, and little bit by little bit kind of building bigger and bigger buildings. And for 20 years of that, for the last 20 years of our practice, we've been increasingly focused on low carbon construction. So how we can reduce the impact of construction on the climate, on the climate emergency which we find ourselves in.
Fantastic. And I remember, and it seems like a very long time ago, you took me to see a tall tower in Shoreditch on Murray Grove,
Wow.
Which the private sector had commissioned, which was built out of CLT. And the reason for doing that was it was a very tight, dense scheme, and they were looking for a quieter way of building it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was blown away that you could build that tall, that easily, and that quickly out of Cross Laminated Timber.
Yeah. So that was, we completed that project end of 2008. So that is a while ago.
It is, isn't it?
That was about our third or fourth CLT building. And the ones before were kind of, were all sort of small house extensions and that kind of thing. But when we were working with the material, we had been thinking that there was an opportunity here to do something larger, to do something more impactful. And that and if you remember at the time, the conversation around sustainability, around the kind of the carbon impact of construction was becoming more important. And we had things like eco homes had come to, had come into force. But they always frustrated me. And it always really, it kind of annoyed me that actually this sort of notional kind of climate change that we were going through could be resolved or at least mitigated by building near a bus stop. Or having a solar panel on the roof, but carry on as normal. Don't worry about it too much. Just a windmill here and there, sort of. And it just, that never seemed to me to be a kind of comprehensive enough view, a comprehensive enough way of approaching architecture. So when we began working in CLT and we began to understand what the kind of, how low carbon it was, how quick it was, how quiet, how clean, how few deliveries were involved, we got more and more enthusiastic about it. And we had in the back of our mind that this could be a viable alternative to concrete and steel.
Can you just tell us a little bit more about CLT for those who don't understand fully what it is?
Yeah, so it's really simple. It's big prefabricated panels of timber made of planks from a European spruce, a pine tree, and those planks are laid out, then sprayed with a PVA adhesive, just like Copydex or something, and then the next layer of planks comes down on top, perpendicular to the one below, and it's built up in odd layers, so 3, 5, 7, like that, and then put into a massive press and pressed at some force, and then out comes a panel 16, 20 meters by 3 meters wide. And then that panel goes into a cutting machine, and the windows, the doors are cut out of the panel, and then it's put onto a truck, taken to site, craned into position, and screwed down with cordless screwdrivers. So really simple, really efficient way of building.
Yeah, cross-laminated timber.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why didn't they carry on with more buildings like that? What was their thinking? What were the blockages behind them carrying on with this fantastic way of
Do
building?
you know, I haven't, I, I don't know.
Right.
And it's really frustrating because, you know, we built that building from demolition to completion in 11 months.
Which is,
You know, phenomenally quick.
I mean, that building will take 2 years normally.
Yeah. It was £134 and 43 pence a square foot construction cost. It wasn't expensive, it was really fast and really efficient, and it's still there. I mean, the last time I went in one of the flats was about a year ago. And they're great. They've held up really well. The building doesn't move, so there's no cracks in the plaster. They look really good, and the residents are happy. So I don't know. It's, the nature of our industry is incredibly conservative. And without the demands being, without demands being made on sustainability as they are being elsewhere, it's just not happening.
It just is bizarre, isn't it? That something that's obviously quicker and of an equal price is not being taken forward and championed. I mean, I always think now it's a product whose time has come because of our increasing commitment to net zero, and people are going to have to find different ways to get there.
Yeah.
And this is clearly one of them.
Yeah.
But one of the issues that's always levelled at it is about combustibility.
Sure.
And obviously post Grenfell,
Yeah.
that's become an increasing issue.
Yeah.
How do we get around that? What's the process? Because my understanding is you can go to 6 stories now, but not any higher. Is that correct?
No, you can go taller than that. What you can't do above 6 stories, and really, in effect, because of insurance and current concerns, you can't really build below 6 stories with an external timber wall. So you can build the entire structure from timber as long as the external wall is non-combustible.
Right.
So it's totally feasible to do. It really is the market.
And people's concern about having
concern about combustibility. And and the concerns about combustibility, I understand, of course. And we need competent designers, competent engineers, fire engineers to be working in this space. But the research is out there. The research is ongoing. We really have a good understanding and an increasingly better understanding of how this material performs in fire and how to protect it.
So the next question is, how do we get people buying into it? I'm an advocate. You're obviously an advocate. You've worked on it for 14, 15 years.
Yeah.
Know the insides and outsides of everything. And I know I've led on a lot of the work on sorting out that detailing.
Yeah.
So how do we promote it? How do we get people to understand the increasing benefits of it?
Yeah, I guess in a number of ways, really just by talking to people as much as we possibly can, by showing lots of people around the buildings that we do. And we also have a current research project that we're working on with a national warranty provider to have a pre-warranted construction system for CLT. And that should be approved within about a month. So that's for buildings up to 6 stories in CLT. So a suite of 25 pre-approved details, which will be warranted, pre-approved for building control, and also through conversation with local fire brigades as well.
Well, I think that's the key, isn't it? With those local fire brigades and with the sign-off, you've got to get that sign-off, haven't you? You've got to get people who are looking at that, buying into this and saying, yes, no, this is fine.
Absolutely.
And once you get that, I think. And so, are you seeing? I mean, you talk about across Europe, it's much more widespread use.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked outside of this about some of the cities who are really, really embracing that. Is anybody in England embracing it in the same way? Are you having any housing associations, any local authorities, any private developers are saying, right, no, I'm going to get on this. This is something I'm going to look at. I'm seeing this as, as a way of saving of net zero or of increasing the MMC element of projects that they're doing.
I think there's a phenomenal amount of interest, and certainly, we have ongoing conversations with a number of different London boroughs, so those conversations are ongoing. Is there an individual champion? No, not really. Not yet. we need more policy. We need more help, encouragement from the GLA. I think more demands need to be made on our industry to produce lower carbon buildings.
Yeah.
In Denmark now, in Amsterdam, throughout the Netherlands and in France, they have really proactive, low carbon legislation, which really promotes the use of timber.
Because I know you were talking to me previously about a commercial building that you've done recently, and I thought that was quite interesting. I wanted to talk about that and how kind of that seems to be sort of bucking the trend in terms of in the market.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so this is a building that we're just completing right now for the Office Group, who are a co-working space provider in central London. And this building is in Shoreditch on Rivington Street and is a 6-story.
Yeah,
exactly. This is a 6-story timber building. So 50,000 square feet of co-working space, and everything from the ground floor slab up is made of timber. So timber columns, beams, floor slabs, lift shafts, staircases, curtain walling, everything in timber.
They're getting good take up on it. I mean, I think that's the interesting thing is that, you'd imagine a 6-story office building in Shoreditch at the moment wouldn't have a massive take up. We're seeing people moving out of office space, working from home, or less take up in that and less often, and the price of office space reflecting that at the moment. And yet this is different for this building.
Yeah, half the building's already pre-let, and they've got people queuing up to let the building, so they're really happy.
And why is that? Why do you think that is? Why is having a timber building getting people to come in early and wanting to sign up?
There's a few different reasons. I think that there is this kind of this concerted buy-in to sustainability, that people want to demonstrate their commitment to sustainability. And being in a timber building is visually sustainable. You're surrounded by a natural material. All the timber is exposed, so it's very apparent that you're in a low carbon building. And so being in a low carbon building, I think for them, there's kind of brand awareness around that. So it's good for their business, good for their own ESG, audits, accounts. So, but there's also the health and well-being benefits as well. Being in a timber building has been proven to be healthier, lower stress levels, lower blood pressure, better concentration, people work for longer days, et cetera, et cetera. So being in a timber building is good for you. And I think that's understood too. So people are queuing up right now to be good employers. Employers with a social, environmental conscience, employers who think about their employees.
So you're saying there's been a load of work done that kind of sets out that people enjoy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Working in a
not only working, but recovering faster in timber hospitals, better learning projections in timber schools, etc. I mean, it's just better than being in a kind of plastic interior that we find ourselves in, right now.
That's quite amazing. So then therefore that would then mean that living in a timber building is going to be better for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And God bless the Austrians. They've done lots of studies on this and can show you that that you have a better night's sleep in a timber building. I mean, I live in a CLT house as well, so I live on the 7th floor of a CLT building, and I sleep well.
So you're living your values.
Oh yeah, definitely. When I grew up in Milton Keynes, as we were joking about earlier, and when I was a kid, I loved the architects when I was a kid because they were like, they had all the best cars and they kind of looked really flash and stuff like that. But none of them lived in the houses that they designed. They all used to kind of like design these kind of like, very sort of modernist kind of monolithic blocks, and then kind of run off to their Tudor farmhouses, in the evening. And it always used to annoy me as a teenager. I remember kind of thinking, bunch of hypocrites. So yeah, I live in a timber house for sure.
And sleep well because of it.
Sleep well, yeah.
That's brilliant. Part of why we're doing this podcast is it's Red Loft's 20th anniversary, and kind of we've talked a lot about, the last 14 years about how, we had this great idea and then haven't moved it on. Can you see in the next 20 years that, timber agenda, building in wood, accelerating, moving forward? Is the pressure from external funders
Yeah.
if it's not coming from central government and people who get that we've got to do something going to be strong enough to push the people who deliver into delivering.
I believe so. I mean, I'm an optimist, and I think you have to be in architecture, otherwise you wouldn't do it. So it has to get better, and I think that there's such a great opportunity for improvement here. There's such a great opportunity to make a difference, to do something better. I mean, partly because we do it so badly right now, but there is an opportunity to do it so much better, and I can't believe that the people that I know and work with on a daily basis in this industry don't want to do a better job. All of them I know do. So, yes, it will happen. It's got to be inevitable. I mean, Jesus, Dan, if it's not, I've really screwed my career up. Probably have anyway. But it's big changes are afoot. Yeah. Nobody under the age of 50 puts milk in their coffee, Danny, I'm telling you. But so I think...
No, I see that in my own office. We have every kind of nut oil going.
Yeah, and it's great. It's really great. And, I see that, the demands of the younger generation on these sorts of issues are going to force change.
Which I think has to be a positive, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
We were
They're
talking
better than us.
We were talking in an earlier podcast about graduates coming into our organisation, and we have a lot of graduates coming in, and the importance of that, of younger people coming into your organisations and pushing new ideas and pushing new things forward.
Yeah.
Even if they're old ideas, but at a different time and a different way of implementing them. And the counterbalance to kind of older people who have milk in their coffee still, and the importance of that.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I think the weight of a necessity will force some of that change, and I do believe in the kind of the ingenuity of us.
No, me too.
And I think people will do that. Will take those changes on. Why do you think concrete will go up then? What will cause? I mean, isn't part of the issue that concrete's cheap?
Yeah, at the moment. But when you make concrete, it's very energy intensive process, and it emits the production of the chemical production of making this of making the cement produces an intense amount of carbon.
Right.
So just making cement is about 3 times the carbon emissions of making cement are 3 times greater than the global aviation industry.
Right. Well, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's quite a fact, isn't it? So, I mean, you're probably right, because what we'll have to end up doing, not just in England, I think, but across the world, is having some kind of carbon generating tax, won't we? There will come a time, won't they? That's
very shortly.
That's generally how things resolved, is through some kind of taxation. So I think we're coming towards the end now of the podcast, and what I think what we're both agreeing on is that carbon agenda is going to push a different way of developing and a different way of delivering and contracting and constructing. And I think a lot of people are saying a much more collaborative way. It's the only way that we're going to get the best out of this and make it work.
I think we're really coming to a time in global history, without being too kind of like too grand about it, but we are coming to a time in global history, whether we're, where staring the climate emergency in the face, either we've got to get a lot better at a lot of things, or we're going to hell in a handcart.
Well, let's hope we get a lot better at a lot of things then.
I think we will. I think we
we
have all those tools at our fingertips. We have so many, I think the kind of, the big transformation probably that we've seen within our careers, within these 20 years of Red Loft, has really been about the kind of the level of sophistication that we now have, in computing, with kind of online reference, all that kind of stuff. And actually the applications of that can make a real difference to construction, to architecture, to development.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. So I think that's a great place to stop. Really great to talk to you, Andrew. Thanks a lot for coming along.
And you, Danny, enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thanks.